Okay. So I'd like to turn things over to Paul and Itamar, who are two COPE Council members who are going to be leading us through a discussion about what to do when editors suspect AI use. So Paul and Itamar, please take it away.
I think Ita, you're going to go ahead first, so I'll let Ita lead and then I'll follow.
Okay, I'll share my slides. So thank you very much. My name is Itamar Ashkenazi and I'm a COPE Council member. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so this is my conflict of interest statement. And I'm an editorial board member in two different journals. And I've been also involved in EU projects involved with AI tools. And the ideas that I'll be presenting here are my own and do not represent the policies or opinions of COPE and its members. The journal of which I'm an associate editor is in its 17th year. It's open access. It has no APCs. And as you can see, we've been, in the last years, we received about 130 submissions per year. And last year, we received 750 submissions. And our acceptance rate has dropped down from about 20% to less than 3%. In January 2026, we received 120 submissions, and we expect somewhere around 1,500 submissions this year. And I can say that, we suspect that many of these submissions are AI generated, but, we don't have proof that they are AI generated. However, there are patterns that we cannot ignore. For example, articles written by medical students, many of them authors with 10, 20, 30 papers published in the last 1 or 2 years on non-related medical issues. And we also identify many mistakes, some of which seem to be non-human mistakes. The red flag that we had was a US student which submitted 10 papers, one after the other. Most of them were case reports which were rejected. And however, there was one review which really challenged us in the beginning. And this review was about total knee replacement, which is a very technically difficult, complex procedure. And the student discussed many subtopics of this surgery. And we understood that there's no way that this person could, reliably understand the complexities and nuances of all the subtopics discussed. And there was a debate. We had a debate. It was the first time that we encountered this problem, and there was a debate within the editorial boards. So what if the manuscript was generated by AI? If there are any issues with this manuscript, something wrong, the peer reviewers will pick it up. The review, after all, was interesting and informative. It was kind of superficial at times, but it was informative and interesting. What made us reject this paper is that we found that most of the references were corrupt. And if the first author was, for example, Muslim or Chinese or Indian, then the second and third authors immediately were transformed into Muslim, Chinese, and Indian or other ethnicities correspondingly. And this happened 29 out of 30 references. So it was clear that this student had not read the papers, and that's why we disqualified it. But then, we had more and more challenge. We had very many papers which were immediately rejected because of low quality, but we had some challenging cases. For example, these two reviews submitted by a medical student on hematology, and we have no hematologist on our editorial board. And to us, the papers seemed to be very, very well written. And then there was another case of a group of students from Pakistan. For some reason, it's not passing, that they submitted two papers, two meta-analysis papers that you can see highlighted in yellow. I've been following this group. They have already 22 papers, meta-analysis papers in production, and 4 of them have been already accepted by, some of them by pretty good journals, by Elsevier and Francis and Taylor. So we did take the risk with one of the reviews that the student from Brazil had sent us, and while we thought the paper was very good, the reviewer did not think so. And what they did, the reviewer, they actually went through the paper, and they showed us that if you look at the references, that the references were not appropriately cited. I just want to mention that before we sent it out for peer review, I actually wrote the student and I asked him, we noticed that your manuscripts demonstrate a remarkable depth of knowledge. We were therefore very curious, did you rely on external tools or AI assistance? And 15 minutes later, the answer came back that he wanted to clarify that no AI had been used. The question is that I want to come up first thing that I would like the forum to think about should be we wasting the reviewer's time. And I want to go back to the debate that we had in our editorial board. I'll go back to the meta-analysis produced by the group of students from Pakistan. One of the submissions was also submitted as an abstract of American College of Gastroenterology, and what we found out is that the offer list was not similar. So I could have worked on this paper for many hours and highlight the issues and highlight the mistakes that were done. It still doesn't mean that it was done by AI, and it still doesn't mean that it could be corrected. But I want to ask the forum another question, which is a fundamental for myself, is that we in the medical literature, in this case we're a medical journal, we want to advance medical knowledge, and do we want physicians to rely on medical literature written by people with minimal or no knowledge or experience on the topic? And I want to be fair and say that the same issue relates to other issues, like in physics, history, mathematics, doesn't matter what, history. Okay, do we want professionals, scholars, to rely on professional scholarly literature written by people with minimal or no knowledge or experience on the topic? And we've had this problem not only with students. Okay, we've had these issues that we have identified also with specialists who have sent us papers, some of whom even forgot to erase the prompts from their submissions. But the worst case that we had was this meta-analysis, which was about the treatment of whether amoxicillin alone, an antibiotic amoxicillin, versus an amoxicillin macrolide combination therapy, is it better, which is better for community-acquired pneumonia. And this was a paper which summarized hundreds and thousands of patients. And the conclusion was that the combination treatment was better. The problem was that when we looked into the papers and we sent it out for review, and the reviewer pointed out that in most of the cases, amoxicillin was not the main antibiotic employed. And the weird thing about this paper, this submission, was that the author was not a student. This was a distinguished professor and a very experienced person in his field, and somebody who's nationally recognized, which has written books and supervised master dissertations. And so the next question I want to come up is, should work produced by writing a series of prompts be considered, a scholarly work? Because the decisions that we make I'm speaking now as an author, the decisions that we make as authors, there's an issue of quality. Is the research question appropriate? Was the best methodology chosen? Were the most appropriate variables incorporated? Are the interpretations correct or biased? Are the conclusions important? Were the most important citations selected? So these are quality issues that only somebody who is experienced, who is knowledgeable of the topic could answer. So what are we doing as a journal with this increasing volume of submissions? Well, we came out last month with some new orders. First of all, we are very we look at we adhere to the instructions for offers, and those submissions which don't do that, we reject them. And we want some demonstration of offer expertise and meaningful senior oversight and clear contribution. And we do that by demanding that all offers submit their ORCIDs, and we look and check their backgrounds. And if we see that there is no experience, then we reject the paper. We don't even look at it. So thank you very much. And these are the questions I raised up. Should be wasting our reviewers' time? And do we want professionals relying on literature, which people who wrote them have minimal or no knowledge or experience on the topic? And should work produced by writing a series of prompts be considered scholarly work? So, Paul.
Great, thank you, Ita. We'll transition to my slides, and I would just add too. I think you're spot on, correct that obviously the role of the literature is not just to advance knowledge, but also to archive the accuracy of knowledge. So what I've tailed on here are just 4 additional slides about AI use, maybe some practical points. Just for the record, myself, no disclosures to state other than I'm also a COPE member and then an employee of Stanford University and editor of the Journal of Pediatrics. I don't think any are directly germane. But just some things that, Ita's already just highlighted a few of these. I think just so everyone is on the same playing field, some signs of potentially undisclosed AI use. We'll talk about disclosure, I'm sure, in the Q&A. But anytime, as Ita highlighted, an author with no expertise in the subject area could be a tip-off, no institutional affiliation, an email that's not an institutional email box, inbox, manuscripts that are often single author. And again, these are not universal rules. These are just potential tips. AI will often write in very overly formal and neutral tones, generic academic phrasing. And then for some of you who have seen some of these papers, very loopy writing that's somewhat circular, these logical, circulatory, and repetitive loops of saying the same thing over and over again. And then the next slide. Just further issues that come up too. One, I just had one of these 2 days ago. You'll see in some of the AI manufactured papers, the sentence and paragraph length are very repetitive. Normal human phrasing has variation in sentence length, variation in paragraphs. AI at the moment does not tend to do that. It will also often place adverbs, adjectives in unusual locations. For those of you who are editors, you will note dashes, dashes, dashes. AI likes to use dashes quite a bit. There were also certain vernacular, certain wordings delve into tapestry, pivotal, meticulous, intricate. Ita already highlighted well the issue of hallucinated references. And then beyond that too, not just hallucinated references that are disjointed, but references that are not supportive, all the same year or mostly review articles. And then also you'll see, had one of these the other day as well, inconsistent formatting and pasting in the article, not adhering to the instructions as Ita highlighted, also various fonts, pasting, all sorts of misuses of how you put together a paper. Next slide. We won't get too far into this topic today, but all editors are also simultaneously being plagued by this abundance, not only of submissions, but particularly letters to the editor. So just a few other additional signs of AI use in letters to the editor. Ita highlighted this well. Never published authors down who are frequent authors on PubMed. Very quick turnaround from the release of the original article to creation of letter. I've had in the last 6 months, 2 or 3 letters that were generated 3 or 4 hours after the article went online. I don't think many scholars keep that close of a track to the literature. The letters often will show very low engagement with the original study. They'll do a very simple elementary school or grade school compare and contrast, and they'll offer trifling points that miss the big picture. There's also often sort of a Me Too letter without any insightful questions to the authors about the original article. And then the facts sometimes, even in these letters, can become hallucinated from the original article. These letters are often very mechanical. I've seen a number, have also rejected a number of these where they will say things like, I applaud the article from Ita, talk about a hobby or something else irrelevant, and then say, I have 3 points to make, first, second, third, and then finally, hackneyed phrases. My last slide gets at just the what are we to do from here? I can say in my own journal, the Journal of Pediatrics, which is for disclosure under Elsevier, we ask about the use of AI, but I think we're at a point where we're all going to have to drill down even further. And I think one of the things that will come up during this forum, during the Q&A, is should journals and editors query even more specifically about AI use? Was it used to search and evaluate the literature? Was it used to generate ideas? Was it used for statistical model development, other data analysis, drafting of the manuscript, correction or refinement of language, creation of tables and figures, or other purposes? I'm sure we'll have even debates about which of these are or are not appropriate. But I think with that, we'll start turning over to the Q&A because I know this is a topic I can see we have hundreds of participants today, and I know this is a topic that is affecting everyone right now.